Welcome back to Flagstone Trail.
Yeah.
It's
always a pleasure.
yeah, it's great to be back. And we are trekking through Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, turning them into
Survival guide.
yeah, like a survival guide. It's
Especially in the workplace.
for the workplace.
That's right.
Yeah.
So today we are talking about Law 19, know who you're dealing with.
Do not offend the wrong person.
Ooh.
Yes.
That sounds a little ominous.
It is a bit ominous.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to offend anybody at work.
Right.
But is this more strategic than just being nice?
It is much more strategic than just being nice.
Okay.
It's about understanding that in the game of power,
Okay.
you are dealing with different types of people.
Like different animals.
Exactly.
Okay.
Robert Greene uses the analogy of a hunter.
Uh-huh.
A hunter wouldn't use the same trap for a deer
Right.
that they would for a grizzly bear.
Okay, I like that analogy. So we need to know what kind of animal we're dealing with. You need to understand the species of person
Okay.
you're dealing with to succeed.
So who are some of these dangerous predators?
Well, Greene outlines 5 personality types that require extra caution.
Okay, let's hear it.
The first one is the arrogant and proud.
Oh, I know the type.
Yes, they can be very charming on the surface, but underneath.
A volcano. Ready
Yeah.
to erupt.
If you even look at them wrong,
Yikes.
they might not react right away,
Okay.
but that simmering resentment can lead to a delayed revenge.
So it's not even immediate. We have to watch out.
Exactly.
Okay.
It can blindside you.
Wow. Okay, so how do we even deal with that?
Oh.
Is it even possible to...
Sometimes it's impossible to stay off their radar
Okay.
because their actions aren't always logical,
Okay.
but their need to protect their ego is paramount.
So we just kind of have to walk on eggshells.
You have to be very careful
Right.
with how you interact with them.
Gotcha. All right. Who's next?
Let's move on to the hopelessly insecure.
Okay, so they're not arrogant.
They might not have that explosive anger,
Right.
but their
Well-
insecurity can manifest in subtle ways that can slowly chip away at you.
So it's more like death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's scary because it's harder to detect.
It is much harder to detect.
Right.
You might notice them constantly undermining your ideas in meetings or subtly taking credit for your work.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's draining. And before you know it, they've eroded your confidence and standing.
So how do you deal with that? Do you try to boost their confidence?
Confrontation might backfire
Oh, okay.
and fuel their insecurity.
So we just ignore them.
If you're playing the game of power,
Okay.
the best move is to simply disappear from the radar.
All right, so just fade away.
Fade away.
All right, got it.
Dead.
Don't engage. Don't try to fix them. Just get out of there.
Exactly.
Okay, who's next?
Next up is Mr. Suspicion.
Okay, Mr. Suspicion. Now that sounds like somebody who belongs in a spy movie,
Right.
like hiding in the shadows,
Always lurking.
thinking everyone's out to get them.
Convinced everyone's out to get them.
That sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting to be around them.
Yeah.
But Greene suggests they can be easier to manipulate than you might think.
Oh, really? How so?
Because they're so focused on imagined threats,
Okay.
you can subtly redirect their suspicion towards others.
Oh, so you can use their paranoia to your advantage.
Exactly.
I see. But there's a catch, right?
But here's the catch.
If they find out,
If you become the target of their suspicion, you're doomed.
they'll never let go.
Exactly.
So it's a dangerous game.
It's a very dangerous game.
Yeah, proceed with caution and always have an escape route.
Always have an escape route.
Okay, good advice. All right, so who's next on our list of delightful colleagues?
Let's talk about the serpent with a long memory.
Ooh, that sounds scary. I'm getting chills just hearing the name.
I know, it's a very evocative name.
It really is.
It conjures up images of...
Like a cobra or something.
Exactly, a cobra, cold-blooded and patient.
Oh, my goodness.
They might not be openly aggressive. Okay.
But if you cross them,
They're gonna get you.
they will strike when you least expect it.
Oh my goodness.
And it will be deadly.
So what's the best way to deal with this type? Just lay low and hope they forget about you.
Greene argues for more drastic measures with this type.
No.
Either you completely crush them,
Oh, wow.
removing them as a threat,
Okay.
or you vanish entirely.
So no in between.
No in between.
Wow, that's intense. It really highlights how important it is to choose your battles wisely.
Yes, it does.
All right, so we have one more type, left, right.
Yes, the plain unassuming and often unintelligent.
Now, you would think they'd be easy targets for manipulation.
You would think that.
Right.
But surprisingly, they're actually the toughest to deceive.
Really?
Why? Because they lack the imagination to fall for elaborate schemes.
Oh, so they just take things at face value.
Exactly. Their world is very literal,
Okay.
and complex plots simply go over their heads.
So it's almost like they're immune to manipulation.
They're immune to sophisticated manipulation.
Okay.
Wow. Interesting. So they're not the ones to target.
And as Greene points out, trying to manipulate them is a complete waste of time and energy.
You'll just wear yourself out.
You'll exhaust yourself trying to play a game they don't even understand the rules of.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like a crash course in understanding our coworkers.
It is a crash course in the different personalities you might encounter.
Yeah. But I have to ask, how do we actually apply this in real life?
Well, Greene doesn't just leave us with a list of personality types.
Okay, good.
He gives us some practical tools for navigating these complex dynamics.
Okay, good. Because I was thinking, like, this is a lot to keep track of.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
So let's dive into some real-life examples from history.
I love history examples.
Yes.
Okay.
To see how Law 19 plays out in action.
All right, I'm ready for a history lesson.
Are you ready for a journey back to the 13th century?
Let's go.
All right.
Take us back in time.
Let's do it. So picture this. The year is 1219. Shah Muhammad, this powerful ruler in Central Asia, he gets an envoy from a guy you might have heard of, Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. Wow. Okay, so at this point, he's not the legendary conqueror we all know, right?
Not yet. He's still building his power base, unifying the Mongol tribes.
Okay, so a pivotal moment for him.
Big time. And he's playing it smart. Sends this envoy to Shah Muhammad with gifts, proposes reopening the Silk Road, establishing trade, making finance.
Classic diplomacy. But I'm guessing this is where the Law 19 blunder comes in.
Oh yeah, Shah Muhammad completely underestimates Genghis Khan, thinks he's a nobody, basically ignores the offer, even insults the envoys.
Oh man, talk about offending the wrong person. That's never a good idea, especially someone like Genghis Khan.
You don't want to poke that bear. And well, we know Genghis Khan, he doesn't back down easily.
So what happened?
Things escalated, there was some back and forth, and then bam, Genghis Khan unleashes his forces on Shah Muhammad's empire.
Now I'm imagining Shah Muhammad probably had a bigger army, more resources.
Oh yeah, on paper he was way more powerful.
Yeah. But size isn't everything, is it?
Nope. Especially when you underestimate your opponent's strategy.
Genghis Khan was known for his military genius.
A master strategist. Used his cavalry's speed and maneuverability to completely outmaneuver Shah Muhammad's forces.
Wow.
Guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare. It was a total dismantling of the empire.
All because Shah Muhammad failed to know who he was dealing with.
Right? Textbook example appearances can be deceiving. Underestimating someone can have devastating consequences.
Yeah, that's a lesson that echoes through history.
Oh.
All right, so we've got Genghis Khan laying waste to empires because someone ticked him off. What other historical examples do we have?
Let's fast forward a few centuries and hop across continents to the story of J. Frank Norfleet.
J. Frank Norfleet. Okay, I don't recognize the name.
He was a Texas cattleman.
Crap.
But this story is a prime example of what happens when you mess with someone who's hopelessly insecure.
Okay, so like that personality type we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Now imagine this Norfleet gets swindled out of a lot of money by a group of con artists.
Ouch. I mean, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, it does. Most people would cut their losses and move on. Right?
And lick your wounds and try to forget it ever happened.
But not Norfleet. Oh no. His pride was deeply wounded.
So this wasn't just about the money?
Not at all. It became an obsession. He had to get revenge.
Okay, so what did he do?
He spent years hunting down every single member of that con artist ring.
Wow. He dedicated years of his life to this. That's commitment to a grudge.
It consumed him. Cost him everything. His money, his marriage, his health.
That's intense. It's like a cautionary tale.
It really is. Shows how a seemingly small offense can trigger an extreme reaction in someone with deep insecurities.
You really don't know what's going on beneath the surface with people.
You never know, and sometimes it's better not to poke around and find out.
All right, so we've got Genghis Khan seeking revenge on a grand scale, and J. Frank Norfleet relentlessly pursuing con artists. What else you got?
Let's go back in time again, this time to ancient China. The story of Prince Cheng.
Okay, another prince.
Yeah.
Another power struggle.
Yeah. It's a classic tale. This one's all about the long game. The dangers of underestimating someone who might not seem powerful now, but could be in the future.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So, Prince Cheng, he's been forced into exile, traveling through different states, laying low, waiting for his chance to return to power.
Biding his time, observing, learning the classic exile power move.
Exactly. He's playing it smart. And during his travels, he passes through the state of Cheng. Now, the ruler of Cheng, he doesn't realize who this prince is, treats him poorly.
Oops, another case of mistaken identity.
Right, and it's not even intentional cruelty, more like careless oversight, but still an offense.
And I'm guessing those can be just as dangerous, especially with someone who might hold a grudge.
You got it. To make matters worse, the ruler ignores a warning from his own minister who says, hey, be careful with this guy.
Uh-oh, so he had a chance to course correct but didn't.
Nope, big mistake.
Yeah?
So what happens? Prince Cheng eventually returns to power stronger than ever, and he remembers the ruler who slighted him all those years ago.
I bet he does. Payback's at you.
You know it. He exacts his revenge, conquers the state of Cheng, sends that ruler into exile.
Wow. Talk about a long memory.
It's a lesson in karmic retribution. What goes around comes around.
And maybe a reminder to treat everyone with respect, regardless of their current status.
Yeah.
You never know who they might become.
You just never know.
Oh.
Okay, ready for a slightly lighter example?
Yeah, let's lighten the mood a bit after all that revenge and exile.
This one involves Henry Ford, the car guy.
Oh, I know Henry Ford. I'm listening.
So back in the day, he was the wealthiest man in America.
The king of the automobile industry.
And a group of art dealers, they thought, hey, here's our target.
They probably figured someone that wealthy must be an easy mark for some expensive art.
Exactly. They put together this lavish 3-volume set of books showcasing the 100 greatest paintings in the world.
Oh, so they were really going all out.
Top-notch salesmanship. And of course, all the paintings featured in the book they just happened to have for sale.
Convenient.
Very convenient. But Henry Ford, he wasn't impressed.
Really? I would have thought he'd love to have those paintings hanging in his mansion.
You'd think so, right? But Ford was a practical man.
So what happened? He just wasn't interested in the art.
He looked at the books and said, why would I want the originals when the reproductions are so good?
Oh, wow. So he completely missed the point.
Completely. They tried to appeal to his wealth, his status, but they totally misjudged him.
It's a good reminder that even when dealing with someone who seems straightforward, you can't make assumptions.
You have to do your research, understand their motivations.
Okay, so these historical examples are great. They really illustrate the point. But they're all pretty extreme cases.
They are. How do we apply Law 19 in our everyday work lives?
Yeah, the stakes aren't usually quite that high.
You're right. But Greene's wisdom is timeless. It applies even in the most mundane office scenarios.
Okay, so how do we become masters of Law 19 without turning into scheming manipulators?
That's the key, isn't it? It's about observation and strategy.
Okay, so like a workplace anthropologist.
Exactly.
But with a purpose.
With a purpose. So you're observing your colleagues, your bosses, your clients. But what are you looking for?
Okay, it's a good question. What should we be looking for?
Watch their reactions. Do they bristle at jokes? Do they clam up during feedback?
Oh.
Do they explode over minor inconveniences?
I've definitely worked with a few of those.
We all have. Those are your clues.
Okay, so we're gathering intel, like a detective piecing together a profile.
Exactly.
But then how do we use that information ethically?
Greene talks about testing the waters.
Okay.
Before you go all in on a risky strategy,
Right.
try a subtle approach.
Okay.
Toss out a harmless comment. Gauge their reaction. See if they're easily riled up or surprisingly thick-skinned.
So like sending out a probe before launching the full-scale attack.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're gathering intel, testing the waters. What's the next level?
Don't rely on instinct alone.
Okay.
Take time to gather concrete information
About this person.
about the person you're dealing with.
Okay.
What are their past successes and failures? What are their known triggers?
Gotcha.
What are their unspoken desires?
This is starting to feel like a game of chess.
It is a game of chess. You need to anticipate your opponent's moves before making your own.
Okay, so we're thinking strategically, but what about those situations where you can't avoid the person?
Ah, yes.
Like, let's say you're stuck working closely with a Mr. Suspicion.
Right.
How do you navigate that minefield?
That's where understanding their insecurities becomes crucial.
Okay.
Mr. Suspicion thrives on feeling in control, having the inside scoop.
Okay.
You can actually disarm them by being transparent,
Okay.
keeping them in the loop, even if it seems unnecessary.
So you're almost feeding their need for information
You're giving them what they crave.
to keep them from spiraling.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. It sounds counterintuitive, but I can see how it would work.
It's about working with their personality, not against it.
Right. So we're not trying to change people.
Oh,
We're trying to understand them
exactly.
and work with what we've got.
And remember, Law 19 isn't a license to manipulate people.
Right. Of course not.
It's about understanding the dynamics of power
Okay.
and using that knowledge to protect yourself
Right.
and navigate challenging situations.
It's like learning self-defense.
Exactly.
You don't go around picking fights.
Right.
but you need to know how to protect yourself.
Precisely.
Right.
And that's why this law is so valuable in the workplace.
Where the power struggles are constant.
Where those unspoken power struggles are constantly playing out.
It's given me a whole new perspective on office politics.
I think we all encounter these personality types.
Yeah?
Whether we're conscious of it or not.
It's true.
The key is to be aware, to observe, and to apply these insights strategically.
Okay, so the takeaway here is know your audience, do your research, test the waters, and always have an exit strategy.
Wise words.
Oh.
And remember, the most important tool in your arsenal is your own judgment.
Okay.
Use this knowledge responsibly, and you'll be well on your way to mastering the art of navigating the human landscape.
This has been a fascinating discussion. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
And that's it for today's Flagstone Trail discussion. We appreciate your listenership.
Until next time, stay vigilant, stay curious, and remember, knowledge is power.